In today's video, we'll be looking at the while loop. Now, let me show you where the while loop fits in the control structures, right? So in programming, it whether you're using Pascal, Java, C++, or Python, we always use control structures to control the flow of our computer program. Now, there are three control structures that are used in programming for any language. You have the sequence, you have the selection, and we have the iteration, which is also referred to as loops. And there are two types of loops. You have the for loop and the while loop. So in today's video, we'll be looking at the while loop. So the while loop, the iteration is unbounded. The loop continues until a sentinel value is entered by the user. The while loop repeats a set of instructions or statements while the condition is not met. So here is the structure or the layout of the while loop. We have while the condition is not met, do repeat a series of actions or statements in the while loop. Now, the words while and do and end while are reserved words, for example, in Pascal, right? So you cannot use these reserved words in your program other than the intended use that it is intended to be used for in the specific language, programming language. All right, so here we have the while loop. Now I'm going to show you the use of the while loop in an everyday situation. Using the while loop for the washing of plates in a kitchen sink. So while the sink is not empty, do the following instructions. So use your dominant hand. So if you are right-handed, that's your dominant hand. If you use your left hand, that's your dominant hand. So for today's video, we assume that you're left-handed. So use your dominant hand to put 2 drops of liquid soap on the washing pad. Take the plate from the sink with your left hand. Use your right hand to take up the washing pad. Use your right hand to scrub the 2 sides of the plate using the washing pad until the plate is clean. Rinse the plate with water from the kitchen sink pipe. Place the plate in the dish drainer. So this blue bracket, this is a set of instructions done for an unknown number of times. And then we have our end while, right? So these set of instructions will be repeated until all the plates in the sink are completely finished and washed. So we use the while loop when we have a set of instructions or actions that must be done for an unknown number of times. So let us look now at a programming example. So the while loop. So the problem definition. Write a program that will allow the user to enter numbers until the sentinel value is entered. The sentinel value for today's video or program is -1. Then the program will calculate and display the sum and average of the numbers entered. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to break down the problem with the use of a defining diagram or the IPO chart. The IPO means input processing output chart. So from our problem definition, we move to our IPO chart. So the input will be our variable num, which represents a number. Then once we have the number, we have to process it. So this will be the processing part. We're going to print on the screen enter a number so the person will know what to do. The user will know what to do. Then we'll read from the keyboard the number, which will be stored in the variable num. Then while num is not equal to -1, which in today's video is a sentinel value, do these set of instructions or statements. So total will be assigned total or equal to total plus the number enter, which is stored in num. Then count will be assigned count plus 1, right? So when the user types in the sentinel value, which is -1, the while loop will end. Then the program will assign the total, which is divided by count, to the variable average. Then the program will print the total on the screen and print the average on the screen. And the output would be the total, the variable, the value that is in the variable total, and the value that is in the variable average will be printed on the screen. All right, let us move now from the IPO chart to the algorithm. There are two ways to represent the algorithm. You have the flow chart and the pseudocode. The flow chart is this diagram on the left on the screen or the slide, and the pseudocode is a written instructions that are here on the right of the screen. So the flow chart is on the left, this diagram, and the pseudocode is in this box, this rectangle. So I'm going to start off with the pseudocode. So we have start. We're going to declare the variables num and count as integers. So it's going to store whole numbers. Then we're going to declare average as real, right? So it's going to have decimal places, like for example 10.05 or 10.5, right? Then total will be assigned 0, count will be assigned the value 0, average, variable average will be assigned the value 0. So total, count, and average, those are variables. Then we're going to print on the screen, enter a number. Then we're going to read from the keyboard the number that the user entered, and we're going to store it in the variable num. While the variable num is not equal to -1, which is a sentinel value, then we're going to repeat this set of statements or instructions until the user enters -1, right? So total will be equal to num plus no total, count will be equal to count plus 1. So we will read the number or read the variable again while we're in this while loop, right? Then when the user types in -1, the while loop will end. Then the variable average will be assigned total divided by count. Then the program will print the value in the variable total and the value in the variable average on the screen. So it'll print the value for total and average on the screen. So I'm going to run through the flow chart now. So the flow chart, we have the start. We assign 0 to the variable num, which will store the number. We assign 0 to the variable total. We assign 0 to the variable average. We assign 0 to the variable count, right? Now, we're going to print on the screen, enter a number. Then we're going to read from the keyboard the number that the person entered, and we're going to store that in the variable num. Then the next step in the flow chart is while the number entered is not equal to -1, which is the sentinel value, then it the software will add the number to the total. In this instance, in the first pass, total was 0. Then count to be incremented by 1, right? Because the count was 0. And then it will add 1. And as it goes through the loop, total will be added to the number entered and count to be incremented by 1. When the user types in -1, then the loop will end. And here now we'll come at this side of the flowchart. And here now the variable average will be equal to total divided by count. And then the program will print the value that is in the variable total and the value that is in the variable average on the screen, and then the program will stop, right? So in today's video, we looked at the while loop and the flow chart and the pseudocode that we did in the previous slide um, was for this problem definition, where we were required to write a program that would allow the user to enter a number or set of numbers until the sentinel value was entered. And the sentinel value for today's video was -1. And after -1 was entered by the user, the program calculated the sum and average and displayed the values for the sum and the average on the screen. So this brings us to the end of today's video. In the next video, we'll be looking at the for loop, and then we'll be looking at the sequence control structure, and the next video after the sequence video will be the which is the selection. So please take care until we meet again in those sets of videos. Bye. Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, and share.